My name is Cindy Fan. I'm Vice Provost for the International Institute at UCLA. As a land-grant institution, the UCLA International Institute acknowledges the Gabrielino Tongva peoples as traditional land caretakers of Tovanga. In celebration of International Education Week, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 7th annual UCLA Global Conversation. This is the first year that we have the Global Conversation in person since the pandemic. So it's really wonderful to see all of you in this room. Thank you for coming. And this year's International Education Week, or IEW, it's supported by 27 campus co-sponsors, and it includes 37 events organized by 29 campus units. Many of the campus leaders representing these units are in the audience right now, and I'd like to thank all of you for your generosity and hard work and for being here this afternoon. IEW, or International Education Week, is a joint initiative of the U.S. Department of State and Department of Education, celebrated each fall in college campuses across the United States. And at UCLA, the International Institute leads the campus celebration. And I'd like to especially thank the amazing staff of the International Institute. Without them, this event and the whole week would not have been successful. Mani, Catherine, Christine, Peggy, Kevin, Chloe, Rita, some of them are not in this room because they are greeting people outside, Kaya, Oliver, Warren, and many others. My friends, you're my rock, and I thank you. This week highlights the immense value of international education for US students, whether acquired through study abroad or taking classes or doing research involving intercultural perspectives, language studies, or internship, as well as the deep contributions made by students and scholars from other countries. And I know that there's at least one scholar from Sweden who's in the audience. I just invited him to come today. Emily Moreira, a senior at UCLA, majoring in international development studies and minoring in French and linguistics, studied in Yonsei University in Seoul, Korea last winter and spring. Upon returning, she reflects, and I quote, "I learned that countries, languages, and borders all come crashing down in the face of friendship. With my clubmates," she joined a music club in Seoul as well, "or even my friendships with other international students at Yonsei. Having a true heart and being open to learning about each other's cultures, languages, and way of life could overcome any obstacles," end quote. So UCLA students or Bruins are truly optimistic, and we need more optimists in the world today. If you're interested in reading more of Emily's story, it's on our website and it's also on our social media. And I would also like to acknowledge the fact that UCLA's new Executive Vice Chancellor Provost Donnell Hunt is also in the audience. Thank you for coming. This is only your third month. Beginning of your third month, it feels like 3 years probably. UCLA's mission is the creation, dissemination, preservation, and application of knowledge for the betterment of the global world and for the global society. And by global society, we also include, of course, our local community. And this year's Global Conversation is a special collaboration between UCLA and the Los Angeles Consular Corps. And last time I checked, there are 97 Consuls General in Los Angeles, and 63 of them are career diplomats. So Los Angeles is important in the world. And a number of Consuls General and consular staff are in the audience this afternoon. I would like to welcome them and thank them for your partnership. And I would like to extend my deep gratitude to the LA Consular Corps Executive Committee, many of them are sitting in the front here, for supporting this event. And a special thanks to Honorary Consul Abdallah Saou of Morocco for initiating this idea of this event at UCLA. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Dean. At UCLA there are many deans, but there's also a Dean in the Consular Corps. My pleasure to introduce the Dean of the LA Consular Corps and Consul General of Romania, the Honorable Cosmin Dumitrescu. As a senior diplomat of Romania on the west coast of the United States, the main priority of Consul General Dumitrescu's mission is to increase the level of bilateral cooperation between Romania and the United States. Previously, he served as Consul General of Romania in both Trieste, Italy, and Castellón de la Plana, Spain. He is a law school and foreign languages and literatures graduate who holds a PhD in disaster and emergency situations management with expertise in energy security. Please welcome Dean and Consul General Dumitrescu.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Fan and Chancellor Block, Deans, Vice Chancellors, Honorable Consuls General, dear friends, professors, students. I'm really, really deeply honored to be here this evening and to give these opening remarks on behalf of the Consular Corps of Los Angeles. Yes, Los Angeles is really important. This kind of representation lacks in many capitals of the world. That shows how much Los Angeles means for the international community. We, the executive committee, we've had a short meeting before coming here, and we exchanged some opinions about what I'm going to tell you about Los Angeles Consular Corps or about the consuls. Los Angeles Consular Corps is only the third biggest organization of that kind in the world. That's how important each and every nation that considers to be represented here shows their consideration about the relation with California in general or with the US West Coast. And these consular corps are only platforms. Complex ones, platforms that give the opportunity of nations to come together and to become more compatible with their national interests. And that happens in an environment that is favorable, in this case, given by Los Angeles. Many people ask about the consuls and about the diplomats, what are these guys doing in their life, with their profession? And many times we talk to universities or to companies or to friends or with our own constituents. And they ask us, what are you doing for your living? No, I'm the head of the consular office. What are you doing there? I'm the consul general. What's that? That's a diplomat representing a foreign government. And that's the moment when you lose them. What? Foreign government. And the Hollywood is working. Ladies and gentlemen, consuls are diplomats. Usually they are career diplomats, and they are one of a kind, because they are not the diplomats that you see in the movies or on news that work only behind the doors in capitals that nobody knows what they're doing. You only see the results, good ones, sometime. No, consuls are diplomats that are deeply rooted in reality. They are very active in trade, commerce, and economy. And we should know that maybe many companies here in Los Angeles or in San Francisco or in Seattle or I don't know, are founded here, and they are providing jobs for Americans originating in an initial action of a consul, of a foreign consul, that put together people from their country and from here, from America, for founding companies. And these companies are really contributing to the American economy. Many partnerships between universities started with 2 phone calls and 2 meetings organized by a consul or a consul general. As a matter of fact, most of them usually happen that way. They start with a diplomatic or consular action. So it's not only about the money, it's also about innovation, about research and development, about academia. And usually we, consuls, find the best playground for building relations with universities, because it's only about innovation, about people that can see the future in a good way, and about the students. They are a delight when we are talking to them. That's why we're organizing with the Los Angeles Consular Corps these kind of gatherings. This is a public diplomacy event. This is where we come out as a group, and I'm so grateful to this wonderful group of 29 or 30 Consuls General that are here right now. Thank you, dear colleagues, because it's really, really difficult to put together 30 countries coming from all over the world. I'm so grateful for the speakers today. I'm looking forward to hearing what they are going to tell us about great topics. And then, and I will close here, consuls are the ones that usually are the last resort, the last person to help people in distress. We will be talking about global health or health issues, about COVID-19. Usually, when we are dealing with disasters, as a health disaster happened, the consuls are the last one to look at, or the first one to look at, when you have no hope. They usually come in when everybody leaves, or everybody wants out. And I only give you the example of the people that were saved from the cruise ships during the pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, we had tens of thousands of people from all over the world on the seas, and they were left there because they had the disease on the ship. And everybody was afraid. That was the moment when the consuls came in. That was the moment when groups of consuls worked together, forcing sometimes some companies to accept conditions. And I'm so grateful for the Consular Corps here in Los Angeles and for the American authorities that worked in an exemplary way. And we saved a lot of people that will never meet us. That's the things that the consul are doing for their citizens and many others. But that remains for a future meeting. Thank you all. I'm again very grateful for you being here and taking out the invitation.
Thank you, Dean and Consul Dimitrescu. I have another name for the Consul Generals, and that is you are problem solvers. You solve a lot of problems, and thank you for doing that and for, again, partnering with UCLA. And thank you for your remarks. At this time, I'd like to introduce UCLA Chancellor Gene Block. A champion of high-quality, accessible public higher education, Gene Block has served as Chancellor of UCLA since 2007. Under his leadership, UCLA has greatly enhanced its position as a national leader in enrolling undergraduates who come from low-income backgrounds, have been traditionally underrepresented in higher education, or are among the first in their families to go to college. During his tenure, UCLA has also become the most applied to university in the nation, has advanced in rankings in nearly every discipline, has significantly deepened its international partnerships as well as engagement with alumni, and now receives more than $1.6 billion annually in research grants. And on a more personal note, I feel extremely fortunate to be working with a chancellor who is so committed to both global and local engagement. Please welcome Chancellor Gene Block.
Thank you, Vice Provost Fan, for the introduction, and once again, welcome to UCLA. It's great that you're here. It's great you're here in person, and hopefully we're past the virtual parts of our lives and can gather regularly. I'd like to offer my special welcome to the esteemed members of the LA Consular Corps. It's actually been a number of years since we've gotten together, and it's great to see you here. We know it's never easy to get to Westwood. We appreciate that, so we definitely appreciate you being here. So today's event offers us an opportunity to gain insights from a diverse array of leaders about the challenges affecting our global community. Bringing together such partners to unravel problems and develop solutions is one of the roles of a globally oriented public research university like UCLA. And we are here as a gathering place, a place for ideas, but a place for people to discuss those ideas most critically. We're no ivory tower set apart from society and absorbed in academic theorizing, although we do some academic theorizing. UCLA is engaged with the city of Los Angeles, part of the fabric of our state, and attuned to the needs of the world. We are a public university, and with that comes a responsibility, obviously, to society. UCLA's International Institute and its 27 research centers and 8 degree programs is a critical component of this. I'd like to offer thanks to Vice Provost Fan. I'd like to say my favorite Vice Provost. I have to always be careful, there aren't others in the audience, but favorite Vice Provost, for her leadership and her work in bringing us together today, and she really has been extraordinary. So my role in this afternoon's event is to lay the groundwork for the discussion that Vice Provost Fan will lead with our 4 Consul Generals. That discussion will focus on addressing global issues in local contexts. So to set the stage, I want to briefly introduce 7 topics that I think are having a massive impact on our respective nations and the world at large. These really are common to all of us. And I'd like to offer a peek into how UCLA is responding to some degree in response to some of these pressing issues. So let's begin with the economy. This is a time of persistent inflation, rising interest rates, declining real wages, and rampant consumer anxiety. In the US, we are seeing mixed indicators as job growth slows and even as the economy slows. Consumers continue to spend even as the housing market faces a dip. Perhaps most unnerving to us here in LA, gas prices are at record highs, which of course for a city like LA has true impact. The economic picture is also bleak at the international level. Supply chain issues, which we're all facing, Europe's energy crisis, the Russia-Ukraine war, increased requests for support from the IMF, and currency fluctuations are all deeply troubling. Our panelists will no doubt have much to say on this topic, as the economic slowdown is affecting each of our countries in profoundly different ways. While we face mixed economic signals and competing opinions, it may be of interest to note that the UCLA Anderson Forecast, a leading unbiased economic forecasting unit here at our Anderson School of Management, predicts less than a 50% chance of a US recession in the next 12 months, which is good news, and I hope Anderson's right, but only time will tell. A second theme I want to discuss is global health. The COVID-19 pandemic and its impact, as we all know, is monumental. The disease and its fallout upended our lives and helped us grasp how vulnerable we are to large-scale health emergencies. It also reminded us again how small this world is and how interrelated we all are, that this was really a great example of why we all have to work together. I serve as chair of the Association of Pacific Rim Universities, and next week in Bangkok, we will hold a forum on preventing the next pandemic. This is in conjunction with the APEC Summit, which is going to be held next week. Given the immense upheaval brought about by COVID-19 and the specter posed by monkeypox, Ebola, Marburg, and neglected tropical diseases, we all know that collaboration across borders and sectors will be critical. This is something we must do collectively in the world. The third theme I'd like to highlight is misinformation, which those are a university drives us crazy, misinformation. A rise in the use of social media to intentionally mislead the public, coupled with a frightening skepticism of basic science and facts. This has shaken our society in the past several years, and it's truly frightening. It's really a disbelief in facts and inability to even agree on what facts are. The ability to separate truth from fiction can have life and death consequences. We've seen that. And we've learned this so painfully during this pandemic, how misinformation can lead to loss of life. The fourth challenge I want to highlight is mental health. Depression is one of the greatest public health crises we face globally. It's the largest factor actually for people missing work and ending lives. It is the enormous challenge for all of us. It causes more than 1 million suicides a year around the world, so it's really tragic. Depressive disorders affect 1 in 6 men and 1 in 4 women, so it is extremely common, and it's a problem on all campuses, and it's much worse since we've been through this pandemic. Most pressingly, depression and anxiety symptoms in children and adolescents have doubled during the pandemic. This is an area of particular concern for UCLA and to me. One of the major ways our university is addressing it is through a program we call the Depression Grand Challenge, a campus-wide multidisciplinary initiative aimed at cutting global burden of depression in half by 2050, a truly bold effort to try to find the causes of depression and better therapies, and we're very proud of the work we're doing there. A fifth crisis facing our world is often really called an existential one, and that is climate change. Every day we see examples of the dangers of climate change. The high cost of inaction is truly incredible. The good news is that making sustainable choices is becoming more affordable, and green investments are becoming more lucrative. Researchers are also creating some revolutionary technologies. As just one example, our engineering professor, Gaurav Sant, has developed methods to turn carbon into concrete and to use seawater as a medium for carbon removal. So there's a lot of innovation going on at universities around the world, and that will be helpful in dealing with this issue. The sixth topic I'll mention relates to technological competition. The international tug of war over technological dominance is a fierce one. We all know that. Technology is a national asset and a huge area of government investment. Something we're thinking a lot about at UCLA is quantum computing. Computing built to solve complex problems that classical computers cannot. This is the focus of a major multidisciplinary collaboration here at UCLA between the School of Engineering, Division of Physical Sciences, and industry partners. The US government is keenly interested in the power of quantum computing as well, as are all nations. I think that this is going on worldwide research, and again, this is an area of probably a challenge as we have to learn to share our technology in ways that help all of us. The seventh and final theme I want to offer is relevant to several of these topics, and that's education. The development of an educated populace that is technically adept and are able to flourish in a knowledge-based economy is increasingly essential to national competitiveness. But how we approach investments in education varies widely among nations around the globe. The economy, global health, and the rise of misinformation, mental health struggles, climate change, and technological competition and investments in education, these are just a handful of the critical topics on the minds of world leaders. I'm sure that these themes will provide ample fodder for a robust discussion with our Consul Generals today. As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, part of UCLA's public service mission is to be a convener. And this afternoon's event is a great example of this mission in action, and that's why I'm so thankful you're all here. I want to extend my thanks to all our partners, friends, and guests for participating today. I hope you find the conversations both interesting and deeply illuminating. I certainly will. And thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chancellor, for your remarks. The pressing global challenges that you just mentioned affect each and every one of us and require us to work on both the global and the local scale to meet these challenges. So we will continue this conversation with our esteemed panel. As Chancellor Block mentioned, we have 4 Consuls General who will be joining our discussion this afternoon. And panelists, when I introduce you, please feel free to come up to the stage. First is Consul General Marcela Celorio of Mexico. Consul General Marcela Celorio is the first female graduate from the Escuela Libre de Derecho to become Ambassador of Mexico. For more than 20 years, she has served Mexico in its embassies in the United States, Israel, Belgium, its mission to the European Union, as well as its consulates in New York and San Diego. She holds master's degrees in diplomatic studies and national security and defense, and an executive certificate in public leadership from Harvard University. Next is Consul General Julie Duhaut-Bedos of France. Consul General Julie Duhaut-Bedos assumed her role as French Consul General of Los Angeles in September 2020. She is a career diplomat of the French Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs. Prior to her posting in Los Angeles, she served as deputy head of mission in Australia. And she's a graduate of Sciences Po Paris and holds a degree in English. She received the distinction of Knight by the French National Order of Merit. And next is Consul General Jane Duke of Australia. Consul General Jane Duke was appointed Australian Consul General of Los Angeles in August 2020. Previously, she was Australia's ambassador to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in Jakarta and has served as Deputy High Commissioner in Malaysia and as Consular in Geneva. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Asian Studies degree and a Bachelor of Laws with honors from the Australian National University and a graduate diploma in legal practice from the University of Technology, Sydney. And last but not least, Consul General Ahmed Shaheen of Egypt. From 2017 to 2019, Consul General Ahmed Shaheen served as Secretary General of the Egyptian Agency of Partnership for Development, or EAPD. During his tenure, EAPD implemented more than 120 capacity programs for more than 4,000 African trainees, dispatched experts to more than 11 African countries, and provided humanitarian and development assistance. Previously, he was appointed Consul General of Egypt in Geneva and in Milan. Consul General Shaheen graduated from Cairo University, Bachelor of Science, Faculty of Commerce. With all these credentials, I am very humbled to have all of you to join this panel this afternoon. It is a great honor to be working with all four of you this afternoon. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get started. I have a few questions for all of you, and my first question is, do any of the challenges that Chancellor Block just mentioned resonate with your work as Consul General? And would you like to highlight any particular challenge or add any challenges that are facing your respective countries? So let's start with Marcela.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you. Very nice to see you again. I'm so sorry that I have missed all the meetings from the Consular Corps, because as you know, we have a very huge Mexican population here that we have to serve. And the issue that resonates was misinformation and information also. For us, it has been very challenging, for example, that now Mexico accepts the dual nationality, but for more up to 30 years. And nowadays, there are still people here that they believe that if they become American citizens, they will lose everything and they will lose their nationality. So that's the kind of information that we have to keep on providing. But misinformation, I think that it's quite a big challenge among our community. Because, for example, during the COVID-19, there were, Mexicans, we usually auto-medicate, and we go to the drugstore and we buy medication, and the compadre tell us what to do, and we do not trust the science or the authorities. So we have to build confidence. And it was very, very challenging, and you mentioned before, during these times, we were, serving the community, but we also became doctors in a way. We had a COVID-19 center, testing center. We have the vaccines. We provide humanitarian assistance with food pantries to the community. So there are 4,000, almost 4 million souls, Mexican souls in the Los Angeles jurisdiction. And with the other 4 consulates that we supervise in Santana, Oxnard, San Bernardino, and Fresno, there are 10 million people, Mexican people and from Mexican descent. So for us, it's a great challenge to inform and to inform in an accurate manner and fight back misinformation.
Thank you very much. This is indeed something that is that we're facing every day, not only in Mexico, not only in Los Angeles, but really throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Julie?
Yes, thank you. This is really great to be here. Thank you so much. I really appreciated what our colleague Cosmin has said about our work. I think it's not a very well-known job to be a diplomat and a consul, so I think his description was really accurate about what we do. And we are in a privileged place between the global and the local. We work abroad from our country. We represent our country's interests. We defend our country's foreign policy on all those global issues, but we live here. And we are here to develop the local dimension of our national policy, our foreign policy. So we are really in the middle of this global and local. So I'm very happy you chose this approach, because this is really what we do on a daily basis. So this is really great. About the topics that you have mentioned, and thank you for this powerful introduction, I might just touch upon global health and technology to start with, because for those you have we know as diplomats that those global issues need global collaboration. And once you've said that, what do we do? With who do we work? So this is also a work we do as consuls, and Cosmin was also mentioning the role we have in putting people together and in matching the right people together. And this is about cooperation. So that's what we do here. France has, the US is France's first scientific partner. So scientific collaboration is really what I would like to insist upon, because that's really what we do here. This is one of our priorities here. And we are lucky to have one of the best, we are both two research nations, I would say, with high-level scientific researchers. So we work a lot together. We have a national dialogue on the priorities we should work together on. And among them, the priorities that have been identified is global health and notably pandemic preparedness, how we will prepare, as you said, to the next pandemic. Mental health as well. And then the environmental issues. How do we tackle with climate change mitigation? We have a focus on hydrogen. That is really coming a huge issue for French-American collaboration. And then technology, we have a huge collaboration as well in quantum computing, and UCLA is one of our partners for that with our National Center for Research Science, CNRS. But also artificial intelligence, of course. So those issues are really where Consul can bring something to find the right research universities in both countries and how they can work together on those issues. That's what we concretely do, put those people together, but we also try to find the right funding, because of course you need funding to do research. So we are trying to get the best co-funding. And then we also are here to facilitate exchange programs between researchers, PhDs, postdocs, students, of course. So this is a big part of what we do. And the second topic I'd like to mention is education. This is one of our priorities in the US, and when I say education, it is of course learning French, but also promoting multilingualism. This is one of our top priority. Not just French, but foreign languages. We have noticed that students here from K-12 and higher education are enrolled in foreign language courses at about 20% level. 20% of the students are having foreign language courses. The number in Europe is 83%. So this is one of our priorities here, to develop French courses, but not French courses as a privilege, but as a basic right, as something very accessible. So we have a program to develop French in public schools from K to 12, and that is with our bilingual fund, where we can bring to those schools some grants, but also some language assistance to bring some staff in the public schools. We have now more than 200 bilingual programs in American public schools, and 2 of them are here in LA, so we want really to develop this program. And I have to say that UCLA has helped us because you have this bilingual authorization, which is a 2-week training specifically for teachers from K to 12 who would like to be part of this French bilingual program in public schools. So you are part also of this priority.
Thank you, Julie. It's such an honor to be a partner with friends. And you mentioned collaboration, and UCLA also actually has a dual degree program with Sciences Po, your alma mater. So I think you touched upon many challenges that Chancellor Block had mentioned. So thank you very much. And Jane?
Thanks very much, Cindy. And I think it was a terrific introduction by our Dean of our Consular Corps. And Chancellor Block, thank you for highlighting so many of the challenges that we're all facing. And to complement my colleagues, I'll focus on 2 different issues. One is the economic headwinds that we're facing and climate change as well. So like the United States, Australia is also seeing many of the same challenges on inflation, cost of living pressures, cost of gas, energy security, and what that means for our economy. We have been in the fortunate position for the last 30 years of enjoying pretty much uninterrupted economic growth. And while we're only a country of 26 million people, we're the world's 12th largest economy. And we're a member of the G20 and APEC. And because we put a lot of emphasis on our success is because we embrace free trade. We're outward looking. We have a network of some 16 free trade agreements with countries in our region, and we're seen as a reliable, robust and economic partner. And we have a free trade agreement with the United States, and our trade and investment relationship. And trade, it's doubled over the course of the free trade agreement's existence over the 15 years, and two-way investment has tripled. So it's an economic relationship worth over $2.2 trillion. And bringing that down to the local level and what we do at consulates, as our Dean of our Consular Corps said at the opening, was we work with trade and investment partners to sustain and support that relationship. And that's what will get us through, we think. That's why we emphasise our partnerships here, particularly in California, the world's 4th largest economy. It's got so many strengths and so many synergies for us. And it's why we're engaged in the Biden administration's Indo-Pacific Economic Partnership. And I was pleased to welcome our Minister for Trade and Tourism here in Los Angeles in September for the first in-person ministerial meeting of that group. And they're dealing with issues like supply chains, like the digital economy, like decarbonising our economies, like infrastructure. And so these are really important issues. And it's because of partnerships like this that we can overcome the supply chain challenges. And just by way of example, baby formula has been a challenge here in the United States, but through our partnership with the United States, we were able to facilitate an Australian company, Bubs and Bellamy's, to provide urgent baby formula here in the United States. So that's just an example of how some of these partnerships can work, what embassies, what consulars can do to make calls to facilitate these opportunities. And then on climate change, again, like the United States and here in California, in Australia we have many similar challenges. We face the same wildfires challenges in increasing frequency. We have challenges in managing cycles of drought, sustainable water management. We have, at the moment, a period of floods, which is affecting many of our crops and devastating our wildlife. We've had an ongoing partnership with California in particular, exchanging expertise on how to fight fires and how to deal with water. Our parliamentarians have had long-standing exchanges to learn from each other about water management and sustainability. And so it's in this context that the Australian government, we've recently had a new government, they've legislated to a commitment to 43% below 2005 levels. At the moment, there's COP 27 in Egypt, and our government has made a bid to host COP31 because we know we can't manage the challenges and meet our own ambitions without international partnerships. We've got, with the United States, a net zero partnership at the federal level, and recently our Minister for Climate Change met Governor Newsom and agreed to collaborate further on climate change. And again, building out that at the local level with what we do, there's partnerships with the University of California System, with Australia's chief and peak science and research partnership organisation looking at water, monitoring water and how we use technology to again build out the opportunities of learning through research and development to manage some of these challenges. So thank you very much, Chancellor Block, for outlining some of these challenges. They were all very relevant, but just to build out on some of the different ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane. I think you also emphasized partnership and problem solving, something that your dean has just mentioned earlier. So I think those are really common themes, right? How can we partner to solve problems together? Okay, thank you. And of course, Ahmed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chancellor Block. I just feel like that my colleagues have already covered so many things, so I feel a little bit, anyhow. I want to react on two things Chancellor Block mentioned about the economy, the slowdown in the economy, and about climate change. We all know that the Fed has been raising interest rates in an unprecedented pace in the last few months. People are believing that something will break. There's something will happen. We all know that Fed focus on two things: inflation and the labor market. I always follow Dr. Mohamed Arian. He's a very famous American-Egyptian figure. We always see him in CNBC and all the media, and he's the president of the College in Cambridge. He always brings something new on the table when he discusses the Fed policy, which is the risk to the financial stability. And we've all seen the Bank of England and the Bank of Japan, how they had intervened to save the bond and currency market, and they failed. So there is a question mark regarding the financial stability. Why I'm saying this? Because the other side of it is the appreciation of the dollar. And this is something maybe the developing countries like Egypt, it's a big challenge for them. Egypt probably might be the third largest importer of wheat. And our two main sources of wheat was Russia and Ukraine. So it is a big challenge. Nevertheless, because we had, in the last few years in Egypt, we had a very successful economic and financial reforms, I think the Egyptian economy is very resilient to such challenges. On the climate change, just one note, global warming is a very serious threat. In Egypt, it's estimated that our current north coast, including our very famous Alexandria city, will totally disappear by year 2100. Of course, this is due to the increase of the seawater level, and it is something that is really very serious. Africa has the lowest share of global greenhouse gas emission at only 3.8. Yet, it is the most affected continent. Africa receives less than 5.5% of climate finance. We hope in Sharm el-Sheikh, COP27, will seriously address the issue of finance and lay down a roadmap where we can implement whatever agreements, and Africa would find the finance to fight its battle against climate warming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ahmed. And I think you pose a challenge to all of us, and that is, this is an interconnected world. how do we make sure that our solutions to these global challenges are inclusive solutions and equitable solutions. Since we are at UCLA, so my next question to our esteemed panelists is, how do you see the role of higher education institutions for the things that you care about, for the challenges that you mentioned? And especially, how can UCLA help? I mean, you've already mentioned some examples, but would you be able to, kind of advise us a little bit more on how researchers and faculty and students can step up to the plate to help?
You want me?
Anyone.
Well, first I would like to say that Mexico's foreign policy is quite unique regarding protection, the protection function, because we have evolved in such a ways that I couldn't imagine when I started my diplomatic career. Nowadays, we have different offices that had to do with health, with mental health, with finance, and with education. So that's not in the Vienna Convention, but we're doing it because our population, our community demands it. And we have great allies. And among those great allies, we have UCLA. And I think that we can support this endeavor in the Ventanilla de Educación, in the education office, bringing information, as I mentioned before, to our community about their options. Something that we have to keep in mind is that we are neighbors, but we have different languages, different culture, different systems, different education systems. So when the Mexicans come here, it's very difficult for their parents to get to navigate the educational system in the United States. Even when you have a grade, here is an A or a B or a C, or even a D. But when you go to Mexico, it's numbers. So this is like shocking for the children and for the parents. And so it's small things, but that can make the difference. So I would suggest that we can work in how to provide this very important information to the community and how to navigate. For example, is UCLA, but well, what does UCLA can do for you, or how you can get into the UCLA system? What do you need? So those are the things that we're working on, but still there's a lot to do.
Got it. I'm taking notes.
Thank you.
Anyone wants to?
No, I might just insist on the scientific collaboration again. We have wonderful partnerships, and those global issues need to both research, and this can be done with different countries and different universities, because they all have assets, they all have strength, and then they can unite and work on different issues. But then there is also raising awareness among the public. So this is also a contribution that universities can bring. We organized earlier in the year some French-American climate talks on biodiversity with experts. This was in Tucson, but also in San Francisco and Vancouver. So it was a gathering of experts on biodiversity and the threats on biodiversity, but there was also an aspect of outreach, because there was a public, of course, and the idea was to raise awareness among the public about biodiversity. How can we protect marine biodiversity and others? So I think there is also this aspect. Once you have research collaboration, then you can also have share with the public what your research is about, so that the awareness is, you have more awareness in the public on those issues.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Absolutely, and public engagement is a big part of what UCLA does as well. So happy to partner with Consuls General. Jane and Ahmed?
At a couple of levels. Firstly, at the people-to-people level, having those student exchanges always forms such an important bond between our countries. At our very heart, it's about people and the relationships that are formed over a lifetime. And having a student having an exchange in another country makes an incredible tie and bond, and many alumni form lifelong networks through that university experience. So those exchanges are fundamental to strong partnerships, and I know that UCLA have many of those with all of our consulates. I think also at the university exchange and partnership level, university to university exchanges and partnerships are really vital. And at the R&D level, the partnerships and the learnings that we can have from the centres of expertise that is within UCLA, and Chancellor Block mentioned quantum, that's a really significant, important issue, and what we're working very closely with the United States on. We have our own expertise, but we always learn from each other, and there's so much, and it's so fast developing that being able to have more engagement and cooperation, and the links with the private sector as well. I think that's something that American universities do extremely well, is their R&D partnerships with industry. It's something that Australia's model is a little bit different, and we can learn a lot from. And especially around development of technologies dealing with sustainability. And again, Chancellor Block mentioned this, and that's something that I think we can all learn from and encourage further partnerships. So whether it's from how we use water, how do we have green technology, green hydrogen, for instance, and other green energy sources, more affordable, be able to be mass produced at scale. Those centres of expertise are often within universities like UCLA, and that's something that we'd really love to be working more closely on solutions for our future.
Thank you, Jane. And you mentioned student exchange, and in the US, among undergraduates, only 10% of American undergraduates study abroad. At UCLA, it's about 25%, but still, another 75%. If we could get more of our students studying abroad, I think that will really help. So thank you for pointing that out. And Ahmed?
Yes, we had a very successful project with UCLA last year. Last year, and over the course of 6 months, the Consulate of Egypt in Los Angeles had a very strong collaboration with the UCA in the form of organizing 10 webinars on water crisis on the Nile River Basin, organized by the UCLA School of Engineering and UCLA Center of African Studies. I want to spare all the audience the political and scientific and historical debate that took over this very interesting meetings, which was very widely attended from participants all over the world, not only from Africa. But I want to say that this project and these webinars gave participants from Egypt, from Sudan, from Ethiopia, from other countries, the platform to discuss and exchange views in a very unofficial manner. So it was really a very successful project, and definitely we want to build on that for the next year and see how can we involve with UCLA in other project. And this is typically relates to global, the title Global Problems and Local Solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your partnership.